Okay, dog. We got to talk about Austin Reaves. Now, in fear of being labeled a biased Laker fan who just gives a bunch of lip service to the team that I root for, in full transparency, yes, I am a Laker fan. You know, just being 100% honest with you. However, I decided to be very reserved and conservative on my predictions on the Los Angeles Lakers and deciding to not go over the moon in terms of predicting what this team was going to look like post the Luka Doncic trade. And to be fair to everybody who had their reservations as well, I do believe there were very fair criticism that could have been levied towards this team that had very clear and abundant flaws with the roster construction post the Anthony Davis trade, and I thought that was all understandable. However, as we are now, a lot of things have changed, and I do believe a big reason why the Lakers are such an interesting team to talk about is because of the trajectory, and the ceiling is significantly higher than people originally predicted. And even though, yes, I do believe there is a lot of contributing factors to this, of course, trading D'Angelo Russell in the middle of the season for Dorian Finney-Smith, which has added a level of defensive identity that this team was desperately lacking, and of course, trading Anthony Davis for Luka Doncic. That certainly changed everything for this team. And of course, I don't want to disregard JJ Redick because, you know, there was a lot of people out there questioning the idea of who JJ Redick was in contrast to Darvin Ham. I was there for all of it. However, I do believe the biggest reason why many people believe that the Lakers ceiling feels limitless and that they can compete alongside the Oklahoma City Thunder has a lot to do with the progression and the growth of a 6'5" undrafted guard by the name of Austin Reaves, who has developed alongside a duo of two ball-dominant players that I don't believe a lot of people assumed that he would be able to do so, and that's understandably so. And the level of growth that we've seen out of a player that went from struggling to find starting minutes and getting a level of trust with two head coaches in Darvin Ham and Frank Vogel that quite frankly was not there, especially when it came to Ham, as he was very quickly pulling him out of the starting lineup just last year, to a player that was being prioritized in the beginning of the offseason, which certainly raised a lot of eyebrows, including myself. And even from that point to where we are now, who has extraordinarily exceeded expectations by such a lofty margin that is now thrusting him into conversations of being the best third option in the NBA, which as a sidebar, I think even those conversations are very silly, but we'll talk about why I say that later on. However, Reaves at this point is going to end this season being very, very impressive. Actually so impressive that many people like myself would very well argue that he should at bare minimum be the runner-up for the most improved player of the year. And the reason for this is because of several reasons. Firstly, the 26-year-old guard is going to finish the season averaging 20 points, 4.5 rebounds, 6 assists with a steal, and shooting splits of 46, 38, and 88. Numbers that are not only noticeable improvements from where we've seen him in years prior, and to probably get a better depiction of who he has been since the Anthony Davis trade or since AD has been out of the lineup, because AD was missing some games before he was officially traded. Well, those numbers are slightly different, but still even more impressive somehow. Since February 1st, Reaves is averaging 23 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, shooting splits of 48, 39, and 91, which translates to a true shooting percentage of 64.8%, which is crazy. There's just no way that you could ever predict that. And if you could predict that, well, then I'm pretty sure you enjoy today's sponsors, and they are Kalshi. Huge thanks to Kalshi.com for sponsoring this video. Kalshi is the first and only prediction marketplace that will allow you to put money down on anything legally in all 50 states. And I do mean legally. Everything from politics, pop culture, economics. However, I'm pretty sure you're much more confident in sports, and with the NBA playoffs right around the corner, you can really put your NBA knowledge to the test with Kalshi. And when you do so, that's where the true genius of this platform really comes to light. Because see, you can treat this like you're just putting money down to set a bet, or you can treat this like an open marketplace. When you go to the sports tab, you can see all of the contracts in which you can make, and in particular, when it comes to basketball, here we are. Who do you think is going to win the Eastern Conference Finals? When you click on this, you get a slew of information, the trends that have happened over the course of several weeks now. You also get to figure out what your payout is going to be as well. So if I want to put $50 down on the Boston Celtics coming out of the East, I get to know what the payout is before I actually make the commitment. And again, just like in the marketplace, you can sell contracts that you have with other predictions and bring them over to one that you feel much more confident and secure with. So if any of this sounds interesting, sign up using my link in the description. And for the first 500 traders that trade 100 contracts, they will get a free $10 credit. And again, shout out to Kalshi for sponsoring this video. Now, the reason why so many people are impressed by these numbers are not just because, you know, they can literally stand on their own. Anybody who's recording 65% true shooting on any significant volume, especially when it's north of 20 points per game, that literally speaks for itself. But more importantly, it's impressive because of the growth that we've seen from Reaves and situations that many people believe was not really conducive of who he has been as a player, and that is in both the situations in which Reaves is on the floor by himself without LeBron, without AD, without Luka, and he still looks amazing. Great example of this is against the Indiana Pacers, where he put up like 40 plus points, while also still being able to shift and maneuver in a role where he's playing alongside both LeBron and Luka in a way in which many people were not anticipating, which is why even still, the numbers in which you see on your screen really don't do it justice on how impressive Reaves has been. A great example of this is his three-point shooting. Yes, on the surface, 39% in and of itself looks amazing, and most people will probably assume the reason why he shoots that well from three is just simply because off of, catch and shoot three-point jump shots. And don't get me wrong, that is certainly a good portion of the volume that we're seeing from Reaves, in which he is converting those over 40% of the time. But also his ability to flex at times into being a creator from behind the arc, and his pull-up jump shot from behind the arc is still north of 35%, which puts him in very elite company in class. Also, his ability to still pick and probe at the defense and being able to maneuver in a mid-range area, in which he's converting his mid-range shots still at a more than impressive rate. It's around mid-40%, which has been pretty consistent throughout his career. But in my opinion, what really changed the dynamic play of Reaves is his ability as a ball handler, passer, and playmaker, and this quick burst that he has with the manipulation that he's picked up over the last couple of years. Because in my opinion, probably the biggest weakness of Reaves as a player was his inability to get downhill. He really struggled to maneuver his way around more physical and athletic players, and it's because he just didn't have that burst. Now he's realized ways in which he can properly leverage himself with his ball handling, with a certain level of manipulation, and I think a lot of it does come with the new development of his ability to create from behind the arc. But still, you can still see the craftiness when he does break the three-point line from time to time and is able to maneuver himself to the basket while still being able to have the ability to read defenses and make sure that he leverages his scoring ability accordingly by finding open teammates. This is something that, again, he struggled with massively early on in his career, even though a lot of the two-man game that he played alongside someone by the name of Anthony Davis would tend to give himself much more advantages that many other people would see at his level with his experience, and yet he still struggled with the ability to kind of just find AD with lobs or dump off passes. But now, I mean, we're seeing full-on skip passes, we're seeing full-on no-looks now, we're seeing a player that has the ability to leverage himself accordingly to just make life easier for everyone else around him. And it gets to the point where there are moments where you could very well argue that the team looks not only better with Reaves at the helm, but for the first time probably in LeBron's career, he could sit on a bench and he's completely fine. And this is the part of the video that I really wanted to get to and really inspired me to make this video, because personally speaking, even though yes, I understand and I enjoy the conversations, he's the best third option in the NBA. Truth of the matter is, I kind of feel as if like people do that too trivially, right? I think that concept gets thrown around way too often. I think it undersells how great Reaves has actually been and the true impact and value that he has to this team. What do I mean by this? Well, for starters, bro, JJ Redick, he staggers minutes. I don't even know why we've been talking about this. The amount of time we actually see LeBron, Luka, and Reaves on the floor with one another, it doesn't really happen that often. And so the idea of like, oh my God, when they're all three on the floor, like, yes, that certainly is impactful. But what's even more impactful is the fact that they stagger minutes, and when LeBron is off the floor, this team still wins those minutes by a fairly wide margin, which is very important because this is probably the first time in LeBron's career that a team has looked this good when he is on the bench. Again, since February 1st, when LeBron is on the floor, the Lakers have an offensive rating of 116, a defensive rating that is around 112, which gives them a net rating of 4.2. However, when he's off the floor, the Lakers have an offensive rating of 117, a defensive rating of 109, and a net rating that is nearly 8. Very, very impressive. Keep in mind that these numbers that I just told you also consist of games in which LeBron isn't even playing, and yet still the Lakers look this good when he is off the floor, which I believe is very monumental and further points to the impact of having someone like Austin Reaves on the floor, because now LeBron can take breaks, be on the bench as a 40-year-old should, and don't have to worry about, oh my God, the team is about to fall apart right before my eyes. And certainly the addition of Luka also helps us out as well. I don't want to make it seem like it's just Austin Reaves. JJ Redick helps out in this capacity as well, but I would dare argue that I don't even believe a net rating of +8 would be sustainable if it was just Luka and not just Reaves. Also, another great example of this, and this is something that you would only know if you really watch the games, and I'm going to go ahead and say it, and I know I'm probably going to get a lot of backlash for it, but in the last like 10 games, I don't even know if Reaves has really been a third option. I'm just putting it out there. I'm going to just put that out there. Bro, hey, I've seen so many games where Reaves has been the one closing some of these games, or like at least it feels as if like I believe the team looks a bit more comfortable, or at least I feel more comfortable with the ball in Reaves' hands over LeBron and Luka, especially when Luka is having an off night. A great example of this was down the stretch of that Chicago Bulls game that even though, yes, we lost with a half-court shot from Josh Giddey, but if you look at the possession leading up to that, LeBron and Luka had a hard time getting by Vucevic. The player that was able to create advantage and get open opportunities for us was Austin Reaves more times than not. But again, you have to watch the games to really get a thorough comprehension of that. But again, there are several moments, especially since LeBron has been back from his injury, where Reaves has not been the third option. I'm just letting y'all know that right now. And the Lakers still look really, really good in those games. So there's that as well. But moreover, and I think a lot of people will take this as an insult to LeBron, and please don't, because I think that many of you all need to thoroughly understand. I think the true genius behind all of this isn't that Reaves is a third option, is that we're getting a version of LeBron that we have not gotten in quite some time. And I would very well argue that this is the version of LeBron that we've been promised for years and years and years at this point. Because we all know LeBron has been demanding of an organization to give him a ball handling and playmaking to relieve him of those duties so he can gracefully age into another role that is not ball dominant. And many people like myself had my skepticisms around this because sure, you say that, but damn, I mean, how many players are in the NBA that you truly trust to take the ball completely out of your hands? And again, I want to be very, 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 very clear. Luka does provide this level of grace to LeBron, and that is 100% sure. However, even in the beginning part of the season, you can clearly see that Reaves was also providing that for LeBron as well. And I do believe having LeBron being able to rest, like I said earlier, and the team still look really good in winning those minutes. The fact that LeBron can at times be the third option on this team and still look really, really good, it unlocks a part of his game that we haven't seen. And I think a lot of that energy has really gone on the other side of the floor. And this is where I applaud LeBron a lot in, because a lot of people had questions on who LeBron was going to be on the floor with Luka and Reaves. And I think those questions were very legitimate. But now we can see who LeBron is, and it is that off-ball forward that we've been anticipating. It is a player who gives a lot more effort defensively as the Lakers try to scramble and muster up a defensive scheme without having a legitimate five. LeBron has been the one who's picked up a lot of that slack, as well as Rui as well, especially in lineups in which the Lakers are matching up with a team that has a big and they use these schemes that are overly aggressive and sandwiching a big before he even touches the ball. LeBron plays a huge role in this. We saw this not only with Jokic, not only with Karl Anthony Towns, not only with Porzingis, but we also saw this recently with Anthony Davis as well. The amount of times that LeBron was able to roam around, kind of help on weak side and being able to pick and prod, or at least force the Dallas Mavericks to be a little bit more hesitant to give AD the ball, was something that was pretty persistent all night long and something that I have not seen out of LeBron in quite some time. JJ Redick talked about this as well early on this season about how LeBron, his effort, his meticulous, the IQ on the defensive side of the floor has really raised and taken a step in the right direction, which has really aided this team with, again, their lack of size inside, because you're asking a lot of players like LeBron and Rui to make up for the lack of size, because Jackson Hayes ain't gonna be playing no playoff minutes. I'm gonna let y'all know that right now. So I think that is, in my opinion, the true essence and value of who Austin Reaves is as a player. Not just someone who can function as his high-level offensive guard alongside LeBron and Luka, but also someone that can give you a better version of LeBron, someone that can allow LeBron to age gracefully, someone who at times can close games better than both of these options, especially when they don't have it going for themselves, which in essence, in my opinion, has really, again, increased the ceiling of what this team looks like, because I don't think anybody was really questioning what this team was going to look like offensively, because again, you have Luka, LeBron, and Reaves. It's on the defensive side of the floor, and the only way that you can get this team looking that well defensively, especially when they're playing small ball lineups, is because LeBron is able to give that effort, because he's on a roster with not just Luka, but also Reaves as well. And I think that right there is the biggest reason why so many people are buying high on who the Lakers can truly be heading into the postseason. And the numbers really back this up as well. Again, since February, a lineup of LeBron, Luka, Reaves with Rui and DFS has a record of 10-3, and an offensive rating of 125 and a defensive rating of 106, which gives them a net rating of nearly 19. Now, certainly and people will definitely argue that that sample size is way too small, but be very mindful that practically every sample size in the Western Conference that people are banking on of these teams looking really well in certain lineups, they're all small. I also think it's worth noting that the Lakers, in playing these lineups, have matched up with the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Golden State Warriors, the Orlando Magic, the Denver Nuggets, the Minnesota Timberwolves, Memphis Grizzlies. Like, they matched up with very impressive teams throughout the latter half of the season, and yet have still brought in this type of net rating. Shout out to Austin Reaves. Shout out to who he has become as a player. And I do believe because of that third option, if you will, it continues to open up what this team will potentially look like towards the remaining part of the season. And it's the reason why a lot of people feel very strongly on the Los Angeles Lakers heading into the postseason. I'm still not going to disrespect the Oklahoma City Thunder and what they can or cannot do, but I will admit, even I tried to undersell them when the trade first occurred. But now, with more information to my disposal, I have to admit, I do believe the Lakers are the second best team in the Western Conference. And again, I think a lot of it has to do with the trust that has been gifted to Austin Reaves, that he has earned, that has now allowed everybody else to kind of take a back seat at times, relieve themselves, and get better versions of themselves than we normally just don't see. But hey, those are my thoughts. Please let me know yours in the comment section below. And until next time, I'll see you all later. Peace.